Today we were looking at Chrono Trigger, Super Famicom 1995, published by Square. If you played JRPGs growing up, you've probably seen the opening chords of this one, Yasunori Mitsuda's theme. You hear it, and something comes back. The 11th of March, 1995. The Super Famicom was already 8 years old. It had gone through its whole life cycle, and it was fading. In that year, Square pulled off something that looked like a miracle. They put 3 of the biggest names in the Japanese game industry onto one project. First one, Yuji Horii, the father of Dragon Quest. He worked for Enix. Second one, Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy. He worked for Square. Third one, Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball. He also did all the character art for Dragon Quest. Putting those 3 on the same game had been unthinkable the year before. Enix and Square were rivals. Each had their flagship JRPG. Neither wanted to concede anything. Here is how it started. October 1992. All 3 were in the United States. Separately, to study computer graphics. They ran into each other over there. They sat down and started talking. Horii had been a time travel nerd since childhood. He de-watched every episode of an American television show called The Time Tunnel. That night in America, the 3 of them settled on the pitch, a time travel RPG with multiple eras back in Japan. Toriyama's editor Kazuhiko Torishima pulled the strings. He was the launch editor of Shueisha, SV, Jump Magazine, and could talk to both companies. Torishima asked Enix to lend Horii to Square for the project. Enix said yes. Square Code named the project Grand Dream. The team called themselves Dream Team. The original plan was to do it on CD-ROM so they could fit multiple worlds and time periods. Takashi Takeda, one of the 3 directors, eventually said something they couldn't argue with. If we do this on CD-ROM, the game will never ship. They switched to a Super Famicom cartridge, 32 megabits. The team grew to over 40 people. Square's biggest project to date. The producer was Kazuhiko Aoki. Years later, his only line about the experience was, "This project made my life considerably harder." They held a 4-day lockdown retreat at the ANA Hotel in Roppongi, called it the Chrono Trigger Training Camp, eating bento boxes together every night. Sakaguchi later said it really felt like boot camp. You could keep up unless you were in sync with everyone else. After the retreat, roles settled out. Sakaguchi took overall system. Horii wrote the main story. Toriyama drew every character and every monster. The graphic director was a guy named Tetsuya Takahashi. Remember him, he shows up later. Most of the actual script was written by Masato Kato. Everything that happens in the 12,000 BC era, the fallen Zeal kingdom. Shala, all of it, was basically one man's work. They spent an entire year just talking. Then another year building, 2 years on one cartridge, which was unusual for Square at the time. Now the game itself, you are at a fair with a girl you just met. She touches a pendant. The pendant reacts to a teleporter nearby. She vanishes. You go after her, you end up 500 years earlier. The game takes you across 5 eras. 65 million BC, the end of an ice age, 12,000 BC 600 AD, the present, and the year 2300. Every era has its own map, its own cast, its own music. What you do in one era leaves marks in the next. Combat uses the active time battle system from Final Fantasy, but Chrono Trigger added combo text, 2 or 3 characters attacking together for bigger effects. And after you beat the game, you get something no JRPG had done before. New Game Plus. Keep your levels, take different routes, get different endings. 12 endings total. People kept replaying. The final boss was called Lavos. Horii personally asked for it. He wanted an ancient evil at the heart of the planet. There is a frog in your party, a sword. Swinging Frog Knight. Here is how he got there. Horii sketched out a rough doodle of a frog character. Toriyama looked at the rough drawing and said, "This is actually good. Nothing constrains me." Then he drew the thing. Now the music. This deserves its own section. The composer was Yasunori Mitsuda. He was 23. He joined Square in 1992 as a sound effects designer. After 2 years of effects work, he gave Sakaguchi an ultimatum. Let me write music, or I quit. Sakaguchi put him on Chrono Trigger. Later, Mitsuda told this story. During development, he got a severe stomach ulcer. He knew it was dangerous. He didn't go to the hospital. He was afraid if he left, he wouldn't come back to the project. At one point, his hard drive crashed. He lost nearly 40 tracks in progress. Nobuo Uematsu stepped in and wrote 10 of the tracks to save him. Corridor of Time, Frog's Theme, Shala-S Theme. The stuff that still makes adult gamers cry. That is where it came from. The 11th of March, 1995. Chrono Trigger shipped. Famitsu gave it 39 out of 41 of the highest scoring games that year. Japan, 2.36 million copies. Abroad, 290,000. Global SFC total, 2.65 million. It was the third best-selling game in Japan that year, behind only Dragon Quest VS and Donkey Kong Country 2. The story doesn't end there. 3 years later, Mitsuda was working on another Square game, Xenogears. The graphic director was Tetsuya Takahashi, same guy from Chrono Trigger. Mitsuda pushed himself just as hard on that one. One morning, coworkers came into the office and found him collapsed on the floor. The phone receiver was still in his hand. An ambulance took him away. July 1998. Mitsuda left Square. He only came back to Square once. For Chrono Cross, the sequel to Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross shipped in 1999 on PlayStation. Same scriptwriter, Masato Kato, same graphics team. A year after that, Tetsuya Takahashi took most of that team out of Square and founded his own studio, Monolith Soft, the studio that gave us Xenosaga and Xenoblade. The dream team scattered across 30 years. Sakaguchi left Square-Enix in 2004 and founded Mistwalker. Horii is still making Dragon Quest at 70. Toriyama passed away in March 2024. Mitsuda recently returned to help with the Chrono Cross remaster. 30 years later, the main theme on that 32 megabit cartridge still sounds like 1995 the moment it starts. Follow me. See you next time.